After administering the Last Supper and spending some quality time with his disciples and then leaving the upper room where it all took place, Jesus went to the Mount of Olives as it was his usual custom. And when he reached the place called Gethsemane, the author immediately lets us know the reason why he was there. Jesus turned to tell the disciples who were still with him, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." Now, it might not be apparent to you on reading that, but if you're a student of reading all of the gospel accounts, you would recognize that there was much more mentioned in Matthew and Mark about this subject. They don't mention Luke doesn't mention some of the things that the other gospel writers mention. But I say that to let you know that at this point in the journey in Gethsemane, Jesus was not speaking to the 12 as a unit. He was speaking to the inner circle, Peter, James, and John, or as I have been mentioning, those who were known to be closest to Jesus. Why did he say that to them? Well, he said that to them because, as I said, this is where the plot thickened. This is where the rubber met the road. This is where the going got tough. And when a person or a people are in a position like this, that person or those people need to understand that you can't always count on everybody you count around you. Do I have a witness? Let's face it, some folk will either say that they can't be around to support you, or they simply just won't come around to support you. And the sooner we come to grips with this reality, the better off we all will be living our lives for the Lord. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, this text is where Jesus came face to face with the seriousness of his earthly assignment. And those who were close to him were pulled into this same reality. They were pulled into a place of accountability that they struggled to handle. In other words, the regular season was now over and the championship game was now on the line. The 2-minute whistle had blown and the ball was now placed in the MVP's hands to win the game. And what he stood in need of during this critical time were folk who he could count on, folk who could work towards victory, folk who could stay focused on their assignments and do their part to win the game. But here's the thing. It's hard to stay focused when you're more casual than you are committed to the cause. It's hard to work towards victory when you're just about being you, just about being about you. It's hard to stay focused. It's hard to deal with a situation like that when you are disgruntled about the way things are in the world. And that's exactly what things were like for those who were known to be closest to Jesus. Things have changed, but not in the way that the disciples had envisioned from the very beginning. You see, they thought that if they just kept following Jesus, that things would get better. But instead of things getting better, they grew increasingly worse. The good old days were now gone, and they could remember how it was not too long ago that they could look over their shoulders and see masses of people listening to Jesus and enjoying the movement of the ministry. They could remember when the number of the 12 has swelled to 72 in number, and how the disciples were able to evangelize the community and the place that they were all around the diaspora successfully. They could remember when they fed multitudes of people on multiple occasions with very limited resources, but now things seem to have gone in the other direction. The tables have been turned. The swelling of the 72 has now dwindled down or shrunk to 3. And the fact that Jesus kept telling them that things would get worse before they got better was ever present on the disciples' minds. So here in the place called Gethsemane, Jesus gives them instructions on what not to do during times like these. And when it's all said and done, what do the disciples do? They do the exact opposite. And as soon as Jesus was arrested, they fell into temptation, trying to take matters into their own hands, trying to draw their swords. Peter eventually went on to deny Jesus. The rest of them abandoned him, and they don't resurface until the resurrection actually occurs. And my question was, why did God empower Luke to write this story? Why was he influenced by the Spirit to tell this version? I asked that question, you all, because the other gospels concentrate on the disciples keeping watch with Jesus and keeping watch for Jesus, but Luke concentrates on the disciples praying for themselves. Why does he do this? I think God empowered Luke to tell this story, or to tell this version, because God wants every reader to realize that Gethsemane is much more than a geographic location. Gethsemane is more like an experience that we all will eventually go through. You keep on living, you'll have a Gethsemane-like experience. If you only been around for a little while, just go on, continue to live and continue to do the things that you do, and you will discover that life sometimes gets hard. Here it is. While you and I might not ever get a chance to go to that location to see Gethsemane, Gethsemane is sure to come to your location to see about you. Well, what exactly is Gethsemane? Well, Gethsemane is a garden that doubles as an olive factory. It's the olive press in the olive factory was made up of two stones, and when it was pressed together, it would crush the olives to extract the most valuable ingredient of the olive, which is the oil. Did you hear that? To bring the best out of the olive had to go through a crushing season. And once it made it through that crushing season, the oil could be used to do more than one thing in more than one way for more than just a few people. Do you hear what God is trying to tell you today? This message is a subtle reminder to those of us who are known to be close to Jesus that in the difficult seasons that we are in the difficult times that we experience, we have to just press on through it. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we have to just press on through it. When we're in a position where we feel like being crushed, we just have to press on through. When the doctor gives you that diagnosis and you don't want to hear it, you have to just press on through. When the relationship grows stale, or you're separated, or go into a season of plotting a divorce, you have to just wait and press on through. When you're being sabotaged and betrayed by others, you have to press on through. The best way to come out of a Gethsemane-like season is for us to do what Jesus did in Gethsemane. So here's the crux of the message. Don't let the inevitability of your reality keep you from performing your spiritual responsibilities. In other words, stay woke. Don't let anything make you go asleep on your assignment. Stay woke. Continue to trust and believe that God can do and will do exceedingly, abundantly, above more than you can ask or think, according to the power that is at worketh in you. Somebody say, stay woke. Stay woke, stay woke. We all need to stay woke. If you consider yourself close to Jesus, then do what Jesus does when the plot thickens and when the going gets tough and when it comes down to the nitty-gritty. All I'm trying to say is that Gethsemane is much more than a place where the disciples failed to do what they were called to do. Gethsemane is more like a place where Jesus was able to do what he needed to do to be the best that he could be in a bad situation. And what he does at this oil press is what we need to do to press on through this pandemic, press on through this season. this season of dealing with some brutal realities where we have to make some tough choices and we have to deal with some hard consequences. And none of these things can happen without sacrifice. So as we go forward, know that the following are prerequisites to stay woke in a wild and crazy season of living. Here's what we need to know. Know that intimacy with God is a necessity. I know we had another service after this, and I'm trying to be patient with everybody else who just didn't put their hands together. I can't really see you smiling you can't give me affirmation by smiling. I can't see it, so you have to put your hands together, or you have to lift your hands up. So I'll say it again. In this season, know that intimacy with God is an absolute necessity. Yeah, we can't make it through this season if we don't have an intimate relationship with God. You see, Charles Haddon Spurgeon said this, nothing teaches us about the preciousness of the Creator as much as when we learn the emptiness of everything else. In a matter of speaking, that means that our relationship with God is the most valuable and meaningful relationship that we have. Therefore, we have to give it most valuable and most meaningful attention. And when we give him most valuable and most meaningful attention, we discover that nothing that we go through is too hard for us to get through, because we know that God is present with us and that he is an ever-present help in the time of trouble. That's what the Gethsemane experience is all about. It's about the Son's dedication to the Father. It's about the Son's dedication to intimacy with the Father, and the Father's ability to confirm through intimacy with his Son that in their oneness all things are possible. Intimacy is a necessity. You see, Jesus wasn't like us. He didn't just go to the Father to pray when he was in trouble. His usual custom was to pray. Isn't that what it says at the top of the reading? It was his usual custom to go to that garden to pray. So when the time came for Jesus to face the difficult seasons of his assignment, he was so comfortable sharing his struggles with his Father that all he needed to do was to vent through prayer and then move on. And the one thing that I love about Jesus is that he never asked his disciples to do something that he's not willing to do himself. He told them to pray that they did not fall into temptation, right? But after he told them what to do so that they don't fall into temptation, he proceeded to demonstrate what it is that we need to do to not fall into temptation. What did he do? He got a stone's throw away from everybody and got on his knees to talk to his Father. It's always good to have corporate prayer. It's always nice to have somebody to pray for you and your own little intimate prayer circle. But there's nothing like your personal relationship with God, where you can go to him and pray to the Lord all by yourself. This is what it's all about. It's about intimacy with God.